within an engaging, caring, and positive learning environment. Established on a solid foundation of knowledge, Monument Academy emphasizes academic excellence, respect, responsibility, character, and exemplary citizenship. Would everyone please rise for the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We're going to get into roll call. Mrs. Belial.
Here.
Mr. Buczkowski is absent tonight. Mr. Carley. Here. Mrs. Clinton.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien is also absent tonight, excused. Ryan Graham is here, and Mr. Years, I understand, is running 15, 20 minutes late. Okay. But we do have a quorum, so we will proceed forward with our agenda. Board, do we have any additions or corrections that need to be made to the agenda for tonight? All right, seeing none, the agenda is approved as distributed by unanimous consent. With that said, as I have notated on the agenda, that we were going to motion to adjourn into executive session, and that we would be back in here for the D38 portion of the presentation. I see Dr. Summers over there, so thank you for being here tonight, sir. With that said, if one of the members of this board would like to read the motion for adjournment into executive, just make sure to read the full citation.
I motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024E to discuss negotiations and advice to negotiators regarding district MOO and charter contract questions.
I second.
Any discussion on said motion? All right, seeing none, Mrs. Belial, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mrs. Clinton?
Aye.
Mr. Carley? Aye. Ryan Graham votes aye. The motion carries. We will move into executive. We will be back into open session by 6:30. So thank you, guys. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting back to order. We have adjourned from executive session. We are back in open session. With that said, I would like to thank Dr. Casey Summers, our superintendent from District 38, our chief business officer in District 38, Brett Ridgway, and then, of course, the board president of D38, Chris Chandler, for being here tonight. What we're going to do is going to go ahead and get into a presentation that they have prepared for us tonight, and then we will get into the town hall style community Q&A. But with that said, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Graham, as well as Board of Directors of Monument Academy. We are grateful for this opportunity to spend some time tonight, of course, related to a very important issue that's in front of us. We've designed about 15 minutes worth of a presentation. You have a hard copy in front of you. We do have a slideshow that's also being presented, and we'll make sure that this is shared more broadly, as I know this is being recorded and streamed. And of course, we're grateful for community turnout and participation in this event. What I'm going to do is start with some big picture topics, and then we're going to zoom in into more of what this ask is, why, the why, what, and how, if you will. Mr. Ridgway will assist, as well as Mr. Taylor, and with all of that, again, we're very grateful for this opportunity. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. I should add, if you do have comments or questions from the board, at least during this first 15 minutes, we're happy to have you pause us and we can respond. So we just want to frame this from the vantage point of a partnership that has been since 1996. And what we would acknowledge in this space is that we are serving a population of students in our community that has been growing. Certainly Monument Academy, we would attribute a lot of the continual growth that has been evidenced to a strong and successful charter school, and now a couple of schools. So when we talk about how this benefits our students, I think the first thing that we want to recognize is that ultimately this is about how we serve every single one of our students, and how a good and strong, fruitful partnership between our charter school and the district is exceedingly important in that effort. As you may know, we continue to evidence really strong academic growth and achievement, and that is a district-wide score. We have never been ranked below the 84th percentile of all districts in Colorado. So in 2022 specifically, we're one of 11 districts in the top 6% of performance And that is just another testament to support for our schools, support for what our students are learning, as well as the incredible job that our teachers and staff have done during some very challenging times. So we just want to call out that success and call out how we're continuing to build upon that. Our value proposition really values, I think, a few things that are important to mention. One is that a strong charter school offers great choice, and diversity of options for our families. That we continue to see great success as a district accredited with distinction. And we believe that competition within our district for success across the educational spectrum is a really strong aspect of what's good for our community. But with that, I'm going to segue into a little bit of what I believe is our most pressing challenge, and that is the competition that we are seeing not just within our district, but as we compare ourselves to other districts in the area. And why this Ask Why Now really starts with recognizing the value of the teachers and the staff that take care of the 6,600 students that are in our schools each and every day. Something that is really important to note with the graph that you're seeing here in terms of historic turnover, this is taken from the Colorado Department of Education, is that this represents turnover in both District 38, district operating schools, as well as Monument Academy. So this is a report that is sent into CDE each and every year. And obviously you'll see a trend that since 2008-09, which of course was during the time of the Great Recession, we have our second highest turnover rate from this most recent school year, hovering right around 26%. The percentage I just don't think does that mark enough justice. When we are looking at, over the past 2 years, just this most recent year, we've hired 82 new teachers in our ranks. The previous year, we hired 80 teachers. I know Monument Academy, we don't have all of your data necessarily completely up to speed at this point in time, but I think it bears mention that we all know of at least one or more teachers that have left in the course of their tenure here. And what we are finding is that more and more teachers are looking at the competitive job market and realizing that they can make thousands of dollars difference if they pursue employment in another district that's close by. And I think that would bear true of most of our charter employees that are also making that difficult decision. What we believe has been also assessed in terms of a comprehensive market study, which again focused on our district operated schools. But this analysis conducted really took last year's market salaries compared to 10 surrounding districts. And based on that analysis, what we learned is that our licensed staff, which really are all of our teachers, as well as our classified and hourly employees, were all underpaid by at least 10% below the regional average. We know that we are last regionally. This particular school year, we are last in starting teacher pay. We're currently at 38,000, just over 38,000, which has definitely impacted our recruitment. And when we look at the entirety of our licensed salary schedule, we are below market pay despite performance, again, in the top 6% of the state. So all that is good background and grounding information. Are there any questions about what I've covered thus far? So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Ridgway, and he's going to take us through the next set of slides.
Hello, everybody. Thank you as well for the invitation to come speak here. That's great. Thank you. So what Casey's laid out there is what I would call the effect. And now this page, what we're going to talk about is the cause, in terms of cause and effect. With the pressure that we feel on compensation really has its roots in revenue constraints. And so this table that we have here is, for the most part, this exact same district. I swapped one district out from the compensation list, and that was swapping out Elizabeth School District and Woodland Park. But all the other districts are the same, and are regional friends and competitors here. And the reason I've chosen these three pieces of data is because from a general fund perspective, this is the revenue source that any of us have in order to make decisions about compensation with. Most other sources of revenue that we have specific purposes, specific programs that they are focused on, and so they're not something that's available to make a staff-wide decision about compensation. So these are the key pieces of revenue source for that purpose. The first column there is the School Finance Act per pupil revenue. You know, this is the School Finance Act of 1994. It's designed to be equitable, and if you go down that column, you see some differences, but by and large, it actually is a fairly equitable program. And if you look at the bottom there, that D38's difference to the weighted average there is only about $158 per student. Not bad. It's the other two columns where the gaps really start to get created and really expanded these are additional revenue sources. First one being the mill levy override. Now, mill levy override from a statutory purpose is called general fund money, meaning that it can be spent for operations. And what I'm showing there is the amount of mill levy override, again, on a per student basis for the same group of districts. And you can see there that, you know, we're glad that we have some mill levy override, and we're not at the bottom of the mill levy override table itself. That would come from Harrison and Fountain Fort Carson. But even at $620 per student, it's several multiples below some of the top competitors there at Cheyenne Mountain and at D11, even D20, having something close to double from a mill levy override perspective on a per student basis. The third column is an interesting one that doesn't often get considered, but it is an impact in our region here, and that is federal impact aid. Now, it's not, as the name says, it's federal money, but the whole point of federal impact aid is to help school districts recover what would potentially be a lost revenue streams from the existence of federal property within their jurisdiction, meaning it's not taxable. Okay, so no taxes can be generated off of the Air Force Academy or off of Falcon Fort Carson or Fort Carson Army Base or Schriever. And that's where you can see that Fountain 8, because the base down there is such a material part of their footprint that there's a lot of compensation for the small amount of mill levy override gets made up for them in impact aid. And again, the reason and you'll see there, I'm choosing 1/2 of that total, meaning half of that impact aid is basically assumed to go for operations and half of it is assumed to go for capital. So I'm not trying to include the capital portion of that. That's a separate conversation. But I am including the half that's related to operations. And of course, we do receive some impact aid money, and that's not from the impact aid A, which is about the land component. It's about the student count component, kind of the B portion of impact aid. So 70 cents per student on average, it would be our impact aid component. So when those three components are added together, again, to create, here is the amount of revenue resource that's available for deciding compensation. That's what we have in that final column of total there. And that's where, unfortunately, we rank 11th out of 11 from that. And where distance from the rated average there is almost $900 per student, 8.5%. So again, this is the cause to the effect that we see with staff compensation. Any questions or observations you'd like to make on that? Okay. Go to the next page. One of the things I wanted to also then clarify was the fact that we do have this current mill levy override passed in 1999, a fixed dollar override. And so it's been, and it did take a couple of years to get up to $4 million. It didn't start in 1999 right at $4 million. If it had, by the way, that would have been a $19.5 million cost. It didn't cost 19.5 mils because we actually didn't, I think it was 2003, maybe 2004 before it actually escalated all the way to $4 million. And then it's been fixed at $4 million since then. So obviously with time value of money, going through a couple different recession and expansion cycles, et cetera, what has happened is we've lost impact from that $4 million. Because if it did fluctuate with inflation and those impacts over time, $4 million is the same as $7.2 million today. So yes, it's great that we have this Miller bill right. It has diminishing impact every single year. And now we're talking 20 plus years since its origination. So that's a lot of diminishing impact that has accumulated over time. Any questions on that one? Okay, so then the next slide talks about the proposal that the Board of Education did refer to the ballot. 7.45 mils expressly and solely compensation for teachers and non-administrator staff. The second bullet point there is just an example of what it would cost per $500,000 basis, and this is the county assessor defined actual value. And that's something, of course, that is really confusing, about how this all works, right? There's the market value that we see homes selling for, and we hear what our neighbors are buying or selling for. Then there's the assessor's determination of actual value, which is often a very different number from that. Then applied to that is the assessment rate. So you end up with an assessed value, and that is the value upon which the mill levies are applied to, is that assessed value. So it's in small font there. Well, I can't see it if you're in the audience up on the wall there. But that example of the $500,000 at the assessment rate for this year is going to be 6.95%. That's going to be the assessment rate for this year and for next year, down from 7.15, which was last year's rate. So you take it at times 6.95, so the assessed value is $34,750 times the mill rate of 7.45 divided by 1,000, and you come up with $258 per year. Or if you pay it on a monthly basis, then that's $21 per month. Across the entire district and across the entire spectrum of the assessed value, then that would estimate to generate $5.5 million and be distributed to D38 operating schools and Monument Academy on a per pupil basis. And right now, the mix would be about 4.5 to 1. So it depends on what student count ends up, whether that swings one way or the other, but that is how we had projected it back in August. Questions on any of that?
Thanks, Dr. Summers and Brad. We appreciate your presentation so far and how you articulated the current situation. At the board level at D38, we've worked on a strategic plan, a comprehensive strategic plan that looks at all aspects of running a school system. And this particular issue, teacher compensation, is the number one problem in our strategic plan, hence why we're here. I've simplified it this way, and it's essentially we're about 8%, our teachers on average are about 8% below the peer group that we measure ourselves against. Our revenues are about 8.5 or 8% below that same peer group. And the mill at just under 8 mils is what it takes to make our teachers in our school system, and that's both charter and public schools, so all teachers, to get them to average, the average compensation. That's what this mill is designed to do. It's not to put them at the top of the ranking, it's just to put them at the average, at the middle. And so that's the way we've constructed this. The benefits for this, as I said, is for both all teachers in D38, including the Monument Academy teachers. And that distribution will be based on the law. There's no hanky-panky. It's based on the law. And it's essentially based on student count. So whatever the student count percentage is of the October count, that's how the funds are distributed. And it's been that way since 2018 when we passed a resolution to bring D38 in conformance or compliance with the laws that exist. There's several slides that really just talk about revenue sharing, but I don't have a lot to add to it other than what I just said. We allocate that funding based on statute. And some have asked me personally, well, how do we, D38, how do we ensure that Monument Academy follows whatever the guidelines are? Well, it's not up to us, frankly. It's up to Monument Academy and their board, because this is their funds and they work under the same laws as we do. And if this ask passes, we're all subject to the same language. So it isn't really us holding them accountable, it's them holding themselves accountable to the community, to their teachers, etc. I think that's all I have to say, Dr. Sumner.
Yeah, it might be helpful for Mr. Ridgway to go through these last couple of slides just in a little bit more detail, but thank you for the setup for that, Mr. Taylor.
So yeah, there's been a couple references there to that legislation in 2017, and one of the things I want to say is that in my former role in my former district, I wrote the policy in 2014 for revenue sharing with charter schools, and that's the same policy that's in effect there today. So this is something that I believed in even before it was required to be believed in. Because this is a whole district ask. From a business perspective, I really prefer to see all the schools as one group of schools within the district. And that means from a financial perspective, that means that it should be allocated exactly the same way for an operated school or a chartered school. One of the things I guess I think, so that's on that slide with sharing with MA. So I appreciate that additional resolution was validated in 2018. But I think there's also opportunity to revisit this, and I probably would suggest or ask that we do that. Here we mentioned section B and C of the resolution to provide a framework for review and refine these definitions. And as I look at that, I think it'd be a good opportunity to do a little bit of refining and reviewing of that. On the next page, actualizing 4A as intended. I appreciate exactly what Mr. Taylor's saying, but through the series, through ballot language is where the expectation with the community is established. And I would suggest to the D38 board, as I would suggest to you all, that if this were to pass and if that money was to be available, then that ballot language becomes something that is very, very visible and very important to be pursued and validated through the decisions that are made. And so that's what we talked about in terms of in the language, meaning that there would be an advisory committee to review those spending plans. And again, in D49, I've had this committee in place since 2014. Those spending plans, those ideas were vetted through that committee. It wasn't a committee that had approval or denial ability, but it was a committee that had the just opportunity to vet it and say, yes, does this honor the ballot language? Does this honor the intention of the community? And that's been a great exercise in that regard. And so establishing a committee, that kind of committee here, would really want and hope that FA would have its own specific representation on that committee as well. So again, it's a full district perspective that's being brought to each point of this conversation for this full district ask. I think that's about it, unless there's questions for me. Casey?
Yeah, we are happy to field any questions from the board or however this process for fielding questions from the community will take place.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. With that said, board, do you have any questions as of right now, or is everyone good if we move to the community questions for the town hall style format of this? So with that said, to our community members that are here tonight, when you come up to the microphone right here front and center, I would ask that you state your name, whether you are a parent or a legal guardian of a Monument Academy student, or if you are just a constituent of D38 here tonight. This probably should go without saying, but I will say it, we will maintain decorum in this meeting tonight. And as a reminder for us all, Monument Academy, where you're here tonight, emphasizes academic excellence, respect, responsibility, character, and exemplary citizenship. With that said, I will open this up, and please line up at the microphone for those of you that do have community questions tonight.
Good evening. Ready? My name is Alex Freed. You probably remember me from the board application. I'm a father of 5 children in D38, a taxpayer, Colorado taxpayer, my entire adult life. I've lived in the Colorado Springs area since kindergarten. And yeah, I'm highly concerned with these arguments being presented. I have a lot of questions and statements regarding that. The biggest problem I have with this entire argument in the community level, mainly on social media, there's been a lot of fire, as most of you have seen, is this is being presented as a false dichotomy. On one hand, you either support this mill levy override, or on the other hand, you hate teachers. I want to squash that right now because those are not the only 2 options. I cannot support this MLO while also supporting teachers. I understand teachers want to get paid more. Everybody wants to get paid more. Second point. We've just witnessed the repeal of the Gallagher Amendment, as I'm sure anyone paying attention to politics can know that. If anyone's not familiar with that, you may know that that results in a 55-45, when it was in effect, it was a 55-45 split, where residential taxation was at the 45%. That has been repealed. My personal home taxes have gone up 11.9% from 2021 to 2022. So every time I see it's only $30, man. Well, that's great. That's $30 on top of another increase. The Gallagher repeal is going to lead to further tax increases as home prices outpace the increase in commercial prices. That was the whole point of repealing it previously. What that means is commercial prices maintain relatively constant rates. They're taxed at 29%. The 55-45 split is now gone. My home has gone up $300,000 in 2 years. That doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. So I'm continually paying more and more to El Paso County while being ridiculed and ostracized from the community for not supporting an MLO. Well, that's funny because I'm giving more tax money than I did last year and actually make less money than I did last year. So when I look at my personal budget, as the board often does, I'm sure you use a pie, right? The pie has little wedges in it, and each wedge goes to a certain pot of money. Well, my wedge of taxation is going like this, it's getting bigger, which means every other piece of my pie is smaller, okay? So income requirement to keep these increases. I've seen $30, so I had to readjust the numbers real quick because now it's at 21.57. Seems like the number has gone down since the survey came out. But let's use the $21.57 a month. Teachers are often argued of not being able to afford homes in this area due to the 30% debt to income ratio, right? So 21.57 a month at 30% debt to income ratio is actually a required $71.9 a month or $862 annual income for me as a taxpayer to, quote, afford this increase, okay? So that's one. That's being based on a $500,000 assessed value, and I constantly keep hearing that property values are not at $500,000 out here. My personal home is higher than that, so my $1,519 annual to afford that increase on my home. Don't know about you, but I can't just find $1,500 laying around. MLO can be spent on general purposes. That was interesting that the gentleman had to state that disclaimer, because that implies that the MLO increase could in fact lead to other things beyond teacher pay. Well, the whole point is, I'd love to see teachers make more money, and I'll get to other ways we can do that if I have the time. Okay? This is a red area. Voters value fiscal conservatism. It just is what it is. It's not a hatred towards teachers or any other government service employee. I served 11 years in the United States Armed Forces in 2 different branches. Believe me, I understand what it's like to take taxpayer money and serve the community. I totally get it. I also served under a couple years back-to-back of very low increases, maybe 1% increases in high inflation at the time. So my dollar as a government service employee weakened during those 2 years. Okay, it sucks. Okay, that's what happens when recessions hit. Okay, property value argument. A lot of people like to say that if you pay teachers more, the property values go up, and that's a good thing. Well, in case anyone hasn't paid attention the last few years, property values are up. And in District 38, they're extremely high compared to neighboring districts, which is funny because we're last place apparently in funding. So we have really high property values, and we're last place in funding. Unless you're planning to sell in the next few years, you don't want a higher property value, because as you heard my first points, you're going to pay more in taxes. All right, alternative solutions. One thing we need to do in this district, I'm not just going to sit up here and complain, I want to offer solutions to get teachers paid. One, we need to leverage new development that is coming into this area. It's coming, it's here. Drive down Jackson Creek, oh my God, it's like houses are going up left and right. People are flooding into this district, and I hear those arguments all the time that that's going to burden the schools more. I get it. We need to leverage that. We need to get more money from that, right? Number 2, encourage more commerce in D38. D38 is an area of a ton of homes where people live and commute elsewhere to work. What does that mean? They're buying lunch in other school districts, they're shopping in other school districts. A lot of that is happening. We need more commerce to occur in D38 boundaries. There's a lot of people that live here and not a whole lot of stuff to do. I opened a business here, I'm trying to help in that regard. Number 3, current and future commercial projects coming to D38 areas, namely, there's a new development going in off 83 and Baptist Road. That's getting put in. I mean, are we tapping into any of those resources there? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. I'm asking that question, right? Are we tapping into those things? There's current development projects already in place. Have we gone to the negotiating table to get more income and funding for the schools? Or are we just allowing these people to build here, come on into our great district, as many of us live here, and our expenses keep going up and up and up and up and up. My income's not going up to keep pace with that. That's not fair to the taxpayer. And to say that I don't support teachers with that is honestly insulting. All right, so response points. High turnover since the last recession. If you notice the graph had high turnover since last recession, and now it's high, maybe it's because we're in a recession. Just because the media doesn't agree with that, or likes to say 9% inflation, if you want to believe those numbers, go ahead. We're going into a recession, everyone knows it, we just don't talk about it. That affects every single industry, not just teachers. This is a huge problem. Number 2, less sales is less revenue. El Paso County gets 2/3 roughly of its funding through sales tax. 1/3 approximately, if you look at the numbers, depends what year you look at it, someone will probably fact check me. It's not 1/3, it's 0.3, whatever. About 1/3 of their income comes from property taxes. What does that mean? We had 2 years of what? Lockdowns and less spending. This has resulted in less revenue for El Paso County, which therefore results in less revenue for the district. Now that's a problem. Again, this goes back to we need to promote more commerce. That's how our tax posture is structured. I pay income taxes that come out of my paychecks. Now I have 2 jobs, 2 businesses that I run. I pay a lot of taxes. I cut a huge check to the state and federal government last year. That money gets put into pots, namely federal funds and state funds. Then we get the PPR formula that gets divvied up and distributed to everyone. D38 is penalized because of the way that formula is calculated. That is not the fault of the taxpayer. I agree that that needs to be changed. That's where my focus is desired, not on increasing my escrow check that I cut to my mortgage company. That's not the solution. We need to fix the PPR so that funds go to students commensurate with the incomes of the areas of those students. What am I saying? The PPR formula often pulls funds away from affluent areas, higher income areas, and ends up going into lower income districts. This is, by definition, wealth redistribution, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. These districts argue that they need more funds to handle more social programs. Okay, that's great, but that's taking away funds from my children that are in an area where homes may cost more than in the districts of those other areas. I also pay sales tax, just like everyone else does. Every time you buy something, that money is going into the sales tax posture. Every time I sell something in my business, I'm paying and writing checks to the state, to the, and they take that money and do what they want with it. If we're paying increases in these tax buckets and teachers are seeing stagnation in their pay increases, something's not right. I also pay fees when I register my vehicle. I've made this argument many times. If you're in this room and you don't have Colorado plates and you're arguing to raise the MLO, you got a problem. Because if you go look at your specific ownership tax that is on your vehicle when you register your plates in Colorado, it's very expensive for a reason. It's because we have the Tabor law. It's very difficult to raise property taxes, so they tack it on our plates. I've had Colorado plates for a long time. Finally, my 2013 has dropped off the 10-year period to pay the specific ownership tax. Yay, but I have an older vehicle. Here's the issue. People refuse to pay get their plates in Colorado. Well, if we crack down on that as a state and as a community, we can get a lot more money because the specific ownership tax does go out to different programs, including education, law enforcement, etc. There's a whole list of that stuff. I've posted it online before. Okay, the point I'm making is the tax burden on the taxpayer is not just property taxes. We have low property taxes in Colorado. Yes, I've heard arguments that I'm from such and such state and we had 15% property taxes. Okay, did you have income tax? Did you have sales tax? Some states don't have that, so they make up for it in property taxes. Here in Colorado, we have income tax, sales tax, property taxes, and fees up the wazoo that we have to pay all the time. Okay, this is an issue. So to come at the taxpayer and say, it's just $30, man, what's wrong with you? Can I pass around an envelope and ask for $30 from everybody because my credit cards are maxed out right now because gas was $5 a gallon? I got to take my kids that are cheerleading and dance programs in my 6.2 liter V8 because I have 5 children. Can't afford an electric car right now because they cost 6 figures for the big ones. And so yes, my credit cards are maxed out. So I would love to collect $30 from each and every person in this district to cover my expenses because believe me, they're tight right now. Yay, economy. Okay, this is a huge problem. All right, and it's very emotional. I understand the teachers are struggling. Teachers have historically been underpaid. They are an underpaid profession. I don't think athletes should make millions of dollars and teachers should make, tens of thousands. But that's my opinion. It is what it is. And a lot of the situations going on in the national stage and the global stage is not a D38 issue. This solution to, all we have to do is raise the MLO, well, that's great. We sat around and decided, well, it's simple. Hey, everybody, just give us more money. Well, that solves every problem. All I got to do is ask people to pay me more. I mean, I can raise prices on all my products, but at some point, no one's going to buy my products for my business. Why is that? Because it's not affordable anymore. You have to set a rate that makes sense that you can afford. So raising the expenses on every person who currently lives here, we're going to have to move to afford this, okay? I'm almost at that point. This cost of living in this area, in this state, is record high. If you believe the numbers, national's 9% inflation, Colorado is at 14% if you believe the numbers. I don't know about you guys, but everywhere I go, I see 20, 30, 40, 50% increases on everything, okay? So yes, it's only $30 a month or 21, whatever a month. That argument it's so weak because you're adding that on top of the increase. And again, I will hammer the Gallagher repeal. My question, if I paid 11.9% increase in my tax check that I gave to El Paso County, what was the teacher's pay increase? Because if there's an average property value tax increase, say we'll just use 10%, then theoretically teachers should have got a 10% raise because every pot of money should have increased 10%. If they did not receive a 10% raise, something's going on. That means that extra money is getting siphoned off to other projects and not to teacher pay. prioritize the teacher pay, get rid of some of these other projects that we don't. Do we need a second basketball court? I mean, yes, it'd be great for the children to have a cool basketball court. That'd be awesome. But if teachers are getting record low raises, and apparently we're losing them, but we have a basketball court, then basically we're going to be sitting here with an empty basketball court, going, wow, that's beautiful. We got teachers. Doesn't make sense. I'm giving more, I don't know about everyone else in the room, I'm giving more money to El Paso County year over year. It goes up, 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 and all I hear is, we're broke. Well, so am I.
Wasn't sure if there would be a response or not. My name is Emily Davis. I have a child at Monument Academy. I also have a child at a D38 district school. Thank you for board allowing this presentation today. Thank you all for being here and for fighting so hard to continue to make our district serve all of our students. I love the unity that I've seen between D38 and MA in the recent years. Trying to think of D38 as a district with 10 schools instead of a district with 8 schools and 2 charter schools. I personally love that. I believe that we should think of all teachers and all students as valuable members of our community and not siphon some off and care about some more than others. So I applaud you all for your focus on that. I do have a question that I would actually like a response if anyone can respond. I don't know if it's just questions or question response, but my question is, a lot of the talk around town has been about this MLO becoming a slush fund eventually. We know the ballot language says that it is solely and expressly for teacher compensation. Does that intention, is that just an intention, or is that something that we are bound by law to uphold? So will this be solely and expressly for teacher compensation from now until forever? Or do we make that promise for 3 or 4 years and then think people will forget and then we change that and we do something different with it? My follow-up question is, if D38 has kind of its own financial control to determine how it is given to teachers, and Monument Academy has its own financial control to determine how it is given to teachers, will you both commit to telling the community prior to election day how it would be spent?
So I'll provide an initial response, and then I think Brett can probably expand on this a little bit more. We were very intentional in the design of this, number one being a fixed mill levy, primarily because when we are looking at the rate of increase that essentially would be attached to any increase or decrease into overall assessed value of the community, we have to honor exactly what the ballot language would speak to in terms of this 5.6 that would come in beginning of the 2023 year would be set aside essentially in our general fund, and Brett can get into the mechanics of that, to ensure that the money that's coming in is to supplement already existing salary schedules. And we're very intentional about this being teacher and non-administrative staff schedules. Our preliminary projections within D38 of the 4.5, 4.6 would be approximately 2.6 to 2.8 that would go specifically to our licensed salary schedule. And so we do have intent around how that money would be distributed equitably and fairly among all of our teachers, about 400 licensed staff that sit on that salary schedule. The remaining 300 or so staff that are considered classified hourly, we have a number of hourly rates that different positions are paid. And so we would be looking at those distributions with the remaining dollars, around $2 million, to be spread out, again, as equitably as possible. It's difficult to say exactly how those schedules would play out until and unless this were actually to be passed, right? We can can certainly speak to a general average of about 8% increase to the licensed staff schedule, give or take, because when you look at the schedule, you have to acknowledge that newer teachers that are in their first few years or may not have as many years of educational experience would benefit from a greater increase, whereas some of our teachers that are on the higher end of the scale, if they've been here for several years, it's hard to implement a flat percentage rate across the entirety of that schedule. So that's a little bit of the mechanics behind it. Getting back to, I think, what the intent of the overall question was, though, is yes, we are bound by this language, which essentially becomes law in terms of how we're going to operate. And our board is very dedicated to making sure that this money is expressly and solely for this particular purpose. So that's why I use the words to supplement, not to supplant, because it's not a situation where we would say, well, we've got this additional money, now this frees up money elsewhere to be able to do other things. Might be missing a point in there, but Brett, anything else you would add?
Sure, just a little bit, maybe a little bit on the numbers side. So the weighted average teacher pay on the operated portfolio right now, the operated staff is right about $50,000 gross pay. So 8% on that is about a $4,000 change on an annual basis. Casey's correct in that this is, the ballot language does basically end up becoming a legally binding document. And I appreciate the way that the ballot language is written, that the board approved, because that, the administration of the district and the schools are the ones that are responsible for actually making those payments, but the school board of education and the board of Monument Academy are holding administration accountable, and then it's the community that holds those two boards accountable. So if at some point there's a perception that that language hasn't been honored, then it starts at the community that can hold the boards accountable, and then the boards hold the administration accountable. That would be the flow of that accountability.
And to answer your question, no, Monument Academy has not put together a plan as of today. Quite honestly, we're here tonight determining kind of where our position is on this. All that to say, we understand that we would have to follow the ballot language as presented if adopted and passed by the voters here in D38, and we would therefore have a plan put in place, but we have not even approached that at this point.
Excuse me, I wanted, if you don't mind, Alex made a lot of very good points. I wanted to address him if I could, because I share some of the same feelings. In fact, it's quite disturbing to me when I understand how the PPR is actually how it works. So the state has full control over the PPR. The property tax is a percentage of that total. So when our property taxes, when my property taxes, your property taxes go up, it goes into the state. And then they backfill whatever their calculation is. This says D38 is going to get PPR of 9,000, whereas another school district's getting 11,000. Based on a formula that's ridiculous, frankly. And we have no control over that. So I wanted to make that point because it's a dilemma. I don't know the answer. How do we go to the state and get them to change it? Where's our senator? Where's our representatives? They're in our community. We need to be talking to them. And they're on the state finance committee, which is helpful. But that's where that change will come. That's point one. And I appreciate having dialogue, so please come back up. I like it. Point two was, I totally agree with you about, I want every voter to vote whatever they want to vote. That's the beauty of America. There saying, well, if you don't vote for this, you don't care for teachers. No one has ever said anything like that, nor do we believe that, nor do we feel that. We spend most of our time trying to support our teachers. So I just wanted to be clear that I understand how you could read it that way, but there's no intent there at all.
To be clear, sir, I was not accusing the board of that. That has come directly from very heavy supporters of 4A. Just so you know, community. Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, I do.
Well, so my concern is this with the MLO, because the argument is, well, the neighboring districts are doing it, therefore we should. And what I want to avoid is a tax war with D20, right? So D20 they just added a ton of MLO, right? Which is good for the teachers. My arguments against that as being the end-all solution is they also suffer from turnover. I can cite specifically teachers that have left D20 and come back to D38 because the pay wasn't necessarily the reason for them coming out. They came back for the culture. So throwing money at a problem doesn't always solve it. We've proven this with the DOE national. I mean, come on, we spend tons of money on the DOE. Okay, and let's look at performance. We're always mocked at in the international community as we spend all this money on stuff like health and education. Our quality goes down. So it's kind of silly. So how do we avoid an MLO war with D20 if we match their pay and then they turn around next election year and up that?
I understand. And in reality, yeah, just one second, let me just share this thought. That is, I appreciate that you came up here with ideas. That means a lot. Now, can we get those ideas implemented? Like, can we get developers to pull me up? Can we fix the State Finance Act, et cetera, right? You have really good ideas, all of which we're going to have to address, particularly if this MLO fails, because they're still being, on that, if you look at the data, they're still underpaid by about 8%. There's nothing we can do to change that. Teacher compensation is almost 80% of our budget. We don't have a lot of fringe anywhere. So I'm just saying, I appreciate a lot that you came up with some really great ideas outside of the box thinking, because we're going to have to deal with that, particularly, right? If this thing doesn't pass, then we can't just say, well, too bad. Because teachers don't appreciate that either. You can appreciate that at all.
Understood, and I personally tried to be involved with the Adopt D38 program. I actually didn't even know that existed. So this crisis has actually educated me in a lot of ways because now I'm looking into other ways to get creative. And again, I think the answer is commerce, not increased cost of living. So again, as a business owner, I have a shop in town. Everything I sell, taxes for sales are going to these funds. I also started a little event. If you buy something from me, a solar system, I'll donate a check to the Adopt D38 program. And that's what businesses need to be doing. Get people to stimulate the economy and therefore be charitable out of the goodness of their heart, not compelled by the force of law, right? So, and again, we have to have taxes. I understand that. I've seen these arguments before. Yes, we have to have taxes, but my argument is this. My expenses are not going down. My income has gone down. Maybe some other people's have too in light of the last few years. A lot of stuff happened, I'll leave it at that. A lot of people lost their jobs, if you know what I'm saying. Okay? Me included. So I've had to figure out different ways to make money. And these increases are asking me to make even more money while I'm struggling to make the money I make now at the current tax rates now. So I get it. I understand financial struggle. Right there with you. So again, that's my concern. And if anyone wants to scoff at that and think it's funny, I will pass out an envelope and you can put $21.57 in there each and I'll pay my bills. You see my point? It's very emotional to struggle, but this economy is not doing good. I didn't hear people complaining years back. So that's my point. So the economy is doing good, everyone's getting paid. Cost of gas was low. Everyone was able to ship products and get their products at a much cheaper price. Again, commerce is the answer. We have to stimulate the local economy. We have to encourage businesses to come here. We have to bring higher paying jobs in here. We have to bring ways to keep our sales tax lower than surrounding areas to encourage shopping at the Walmart, at the Home Depot, at the small businesses. Hi, I'm a small business. Come shop, come spend money. That's how you get money into the economy. be smart, but not for the housing. Again, anytime we add $1 a month, that's a $3.33 a month requirement of income to afford 30% debt to income ratio. So,
Alex, thank you very much. I do appreciate your comments. I think Brett had a comment as well.
I was just saying, in terms of your point about a tax war, there is a statutory limit cap on the amount of money levy override that the district can generate. D20 is much closer to that cap than we are. So would they be able to respond? They'd be able to respond a little bit, but they wouldn't be able to keep responding, keep responding, keep responding. So there is a top end to that. Your point about sales taxes is interesting, of course, and there are some school districts that receive some sales tax revenue. We're not one of them.
do you receive money from El Paso County?
We receive property tax money from El Paso County, through El Paso County. It's not sales tax revenue.
Well, El Paso County generates revenue for all of its funding.
No, the only revenue stream that we receive through the county is specifically property tax revenue. We do not receive general fund money from El Paso County.
And also specific ownership tax and vehicle registration.
It's ownership tax we do, yes, but not sales tax. There's no sales tax revenue. The only sales tax revenue you could make an argument that we receive is state sales tax revenue, the things that come through the state and the School Finance Act, but nothing locally.
Okay, so is there ways to look at doing that?
There are some school districts that have made agreements with municipal entities, municipalities to direct sales tax. I think Woodland Park has something like that, where they have a sales tax thing that goes into their school. That doesn't exist here.
A highly controversial amphitheater going in Northgate, for example, is paying $250,000 annual for a parking agreement to one of the D20 schools. Just a thought. Now, I understand the unpopularity of the amphitheater to the local residents of Northgate and D20, but that's $250,000 a year. I'm just saying. A lot of people have their opinions on that. But the point I'm making is you can avoid increasing people's cost of living other ways, right? And this mill levy override, yes, is one way to solve the problem. But my biggest problem with the mill levy override is we've repealed statewide Gallagher, which means my property taxes are already going up. So if the Gallagher increase is going to cover expenses, what's the point of the mill levy override?
Well, the repeal of Gallagher in itself doesn't increase taxes. What it does is freeze the assessment rate. The assessment rate was going down.
Which increases taxes.
Yeah, it increases dollars, but not rate. So that's part of the complexity is what are you talking about then from a dollar perspective? What are you talking about a rate perspective? How does that affect over time?
Sure.
So yes, and so the repeal of Gallagher, if you look about education finance in the big picture, in the macro sense, it has been the Gallagher amendment that has created a lot of the stress in that, because it has inverted the responsibility of education off of the local community and onto the state. So,
Okay, so sir, I'm just going to say this. You said you get most of your money from El Paso County through property taxes.
I'm sorry, I didn't say that. I said the only money we receive through El Paso County is property taxes.
My bad.
Okay.
So the amount of money I cut personally in my home, and I know many other El Paso County residents, has gone up because Gallagher was repealed.
In dollars. It's gone up in dollars, but not in rate.
Okay, right.
Right.
More money per household. Ergo, bigger money in the pot. Ergo, more money to spend on these different programs and funds. Firefighters, cops, all the things. Okay, so we can talk about percentages of rates. Well, the rate did change because the cap was 45% for residential. What happened was politicians got excited because the market for homes skyrocketed. Commercial property did not skyrocket. So homes went through the roof. I don't know about you, but I made some good money selling my last two houses. It's all gone, by the way, because I spent it. If home prices are going up, people are coming paying cash for houses. That's a lot of tax money that was being left up in the air, right? So we repealed Gallagher as a state. That's what the voters decided. There we are. Again, my argument, and I keep getting this dance with everyone I ask and everyone who supports the MLO. I'm paying more money, dollar amount, bigger check to the county. Why is D38 not getting more money?
Great question. And this is about the School Finance Act. And this is how the School Finance Act works. And what Mr. Taylor said about the state basically claiming that credit. The state claims that credit. And so it doesn't end up working its way specifically back into D38. What it does is change the state share of education. And we already receive the majority of the funding in the district comes from the state, not from the local share. And so when the local share goes up, the state share goes down.
Right, so the state gets a free pass because we all get burdened more on taxes. Again, that's one of my other points is every district in this area ignores the issues with the PPR and just adds MLOs in perpetuity forever, right? They're not going away. The last one was 1999, it's 2022. So once they're passed, they're here. So now as a homeowner, I have more expenses, and renters are going to have more expenses too because that property owner has more taxes, which is going to get passed on to your rent. So that's how it works. So again, money out of my personal finances constantly increases, dollar amount and percentage, because that increased dollar amount is a percentage of my income. And we're arguing that teachers need more money. Yes, I agree, but we pay federal, state, property, sales, fees. We have all these monies coming out of the taxpayer, the burden of the taxpayer. And the argument is, oh, it's a small dollar amount. Okay, that's a small dollar amount on top of many other dollar amounts. So it's like a cherry on top of the little ice cream. Okay, I mean, I'm tired of hearing this argument that it's only $21. Okay, let's pretending like nothing else increased, which it did. So again, we repeal Gallagher. Taxpayers are paying more than property taxes. Whether you argue percent or dollar amounts, it doesn't matter. I had to cut a $1,500 check to my mortgage company, plus increase my monthly for my escrow to cover the increases in taxes, plus the increases in insurance, because, oh boy, those insurance companies saw that assessment. They called me up real fast, immediately. So my escrow payment went up. My monthly burden of my home that I purchased 2+ years ago has gone up. Has nothing to do with your MLO, period. That's gone up because of the repeal of Gallagher. 2 different hits, tax increase, insurance increase. And now you want to add an MLO. I have an issue. I have a big issue with that because it's furthering my burden as a taxpayer. Do you see the problem?
And Alex, we really do appreciate you, but there were some other people who wanted to make some comments. So I really do appreciate your voice, and I appreciate the dialogue a lot, but we do need a lot.
That's fine. First I've heard to step down, so thank you.
Good evening, my name is Nick Brady. I'm a parent of 3 MA students. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. I think we can all agree that the staff and teachers at Monument Academy are exceptional, and we're grateful for the important role that they play in our children's lives. And while I support looking to increase school resources and teacher compensation, supporting the proposed MLO is not the best way for MA to move forward. And my comments are specific to MA because that's where my students attend. People are struggling in what is an unforgiving, broken economy, and now is not the time to further burden citizens with a tax that has not included legal means of holding administrators accountable and cannot guarantee that the teachers we regard so highly receive the increases that they're being promised. There's been comments multiple times about it's essentially law, or it pretty much is law, but there's nothing legally that would hold that. About 1/5 of MA students choice in from other districts, so it's unfair to ask the D38 community, of which about 68% have no children in the school system, to forever fund families who live outside of the D38 community. Accepting funds through the MLO makes MA beholden to the D38 administration, and it will further remove our ability as a school to operate independently as a charter. A better solution would be to defeat the MLO and ask for parents to donate directly to MA to meet our individual needs, bypassing what are layers of bureaucracy and restrictions. Realistically, the MLO will raise taxes for D38 families by several $100s, and then D38 will take a cut before MA receives their portion, of which D38 has said it will require a plan of use, which they can approve or deny as they see fit. It would make more sense to have our families support MA with an equivalent donation directly while they attend, their students attend MA, knowing that our school is free to advance our mission as a community directly without outside district influences. Thank you very much.
Scott Saunders. I'm a parent. My kid is LP, but I've had 3 kids go through MA, first grade all the way through 8th. First off, Chris, I just want to say, cool of you engaged in Alex. We may not see eye to eye, but I love that you respect that and engage. So really cool. One concerning point, I'll just kind of use our schools, our community thing. One concern is Superintendent Summers and Mr. Graham. We're a few weeks away from the election, and you don't know how you're going to spend the money. You haven't worked with those plans. That would be really concerning for taxpayers to say, you don't really know, you have no definitive plan, and you're working on it for months and months and months. So that's a little troubling. The other part that's a little troubling is this whole thing about teachers. You got 750 roughly people. Take out the 30 admin, 400 teachers, at least 320 staff. So the whole focus here was about it's for the teachers, it's for the teachers. And I get that. My mom was a teacher. The teachers are valued, they're great, and we want to reward them. But this tax increase is going to go to 320 other people. So let's be honest. Do we have bus drivers that are leaving for other bus jobs? Do we have groundskeepers and janitors and all those other jobs? Are they leaving at the same rate? So the pitch is all about teachers. But the reality is half of the staff is not teachers. So to me it feels a little deceptive that the focus is all about teachers when a big part of the equation are other staff that aren't leaving. And I'm not saying that with any disrespect to any other job position, so I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but the sales pitch is teachers, teachers, teachers. But about half of the pay is going to go to other people, and they're not leaving. The other comment on schools that I'll bring up on a positive with MA's had lower pay for a long time compared to District 38. But there's a culture here that's great. There's a morale. There are engaged parents that do things. The teachers get involved. I can't even begin to tell you how many teachers have made calls to me and worked with me individually with my kids as they went to this school. But the pay's less. So let's be honest. A job of being a teacher is not all about pay. It's about a community spirit. It's about morale. It's about you as the board having their back and supporting them. So pay is important, but I hire lots of people, and working at a place is more than just compensation. It's all those other intangibles and tangibles that stack up. And MA has the secret sauce and does a great job. So let's not be fooled that dollars control everything. And the last point is, when we look at the schools, recently I think it's been a little deceptive that you pointed out that the last particular year where people are leaving, the turnover in the district, it's about the same as it is overall as other schools. You just focus this year on the after COVID thing when every job is crazy. You can't get to a restaurant. We can't get supplies in. So the whole economy is wacky. It's not fair to just pinpoint this one year. Focusing on the community, you're asking those of us in the room to shoulder a big load. What about all the retirees right now? They're seeing their stock portfolio hammered down 20-30%. We're going into a recession. This is a horrible time to do this. So that's on the retiree side, the people that have a fixed income. I'm in real estate. Homes go up. When you look at home prices, I own 60 homes in 10 different states, so I have a pretty good feel on real estate. Home values double every 20 years. So today, it's an $800,000 home is average, not 500. That'll be 1.6 and 3.2 million. This tax has no cap on it. It's stupid. Why would anybody sign up for a tax when they're going to be paying on a $3 million home when they want to retire in the community where they raise their kids at Monument Academy and all the wonderful things that are here? You're screwing over people that want to retire here with a huge tax rate in the future that's irresponsible. So you got to think of the community. And Alex made this point, but here's the statistic. He said 14.9%. It's $10,889 additional a year for the average Colorado family that they're paying due to inflation. You're talking $11,000. So you guys are like, oh, it's 20, 30 bucks a month. This is what people are facing. You're tone deaf to the community, the people that are writing the checks. So we love teachers and we care, but you can only squeeze so much juice out of the lemon. And you're coming back to It's just the worst time to do it, and it's inappropriate. But I know you guys have a lot of struggles. I will say on just a positive note, I love that Alex had solutions. What we've got to solve that you brought up there, Mr. Ridgway, is we've got to go to the state and get more of our dollars back. In El Paso County, we got to rework the PPR formula. I would be a big advocate if we spend money, if we hired a lobbyist and invested, the money that it takes to get that. That's what's messing us up. We're paying our share in El Paso County. We're not getting it back in our community. So let's solve that problem and make that a priority for D38. We'll get more money and we won't have to squeeze all the taxpayers. So thank you for listening.
I'd like to just offer a couple of, I know that wasn't a direct question, Mr. Saunders, but you brought up a couple of points that I think bear a response. One of those is which the specific ballot language is for teachers and non-administrative staff. Yes, we do have 320 or so that are not directly in our classrooms, but we also have about 30 to 40 or more open positions because we cannot attract and retain individuals to staff our food service department, for example. We are short bus drivers. We're extremely short in paraprofessionals, which are additional classroom support aides. We're short clerical. We're short in just about every possible position that you can mention. So it's important to at least note that, yes, it's as much for those individuals as it is for our teachers. While we haven't published the actual proposed salary schedule, which ultimately would have to be approved by our board, we are on record saying that average increase is going to be about 8%. You heard the number earlier, about 50,000. So about 4,000, give or take, depending on which part of the salary schedule our teachers may fall within. For an hourly employee, it may end up being $1, maybe $2 more per position, depending on the particular job classification that's there. So I just want to make sure to mention that point. In regards to the state lobbying potential, I love that we have a community that I think could rally around each other and ourselves to say enough is enough. The reality is the state system implies that there are hundreds of thousands of students across the entire landscape of public education that we would be having to find a way to lock arms with. And I can tell you that's a task that is bigger than just our district in being able to lobby effectively for change at the state level. We would absolutely go on record saying it is a broken system right now, right? And so part of the difficulty in that regard is that it ultimately comes back to what are we doing at a local level to be able to take care of our own. This is a local ask for the purpose of taking care of our own. And I appreciate that there may be some other strategies that could be, that have been alluded to tonight. The reality is to have the sustainability to be able to not just deal with this for next year, but to be able to deal with this for many years to come. Unfortunately, that burden does have to be something that is ultimately a question for our community, and that's exactly what this is. And you guys are all bringing up extremely good points in terms of what that burden represents to each and every taxpayer that's in our midst. And what I would add to that is that ultimately the question boils down to what are we willing to invest into a school system, and it is a school system that encompasses all 10 of our schools and all of the students and the staff that are taking care of our students in order to be able to ultimately ensure sustainability and success far into the future. So thank you for your points once again.
Hi, I'm Derek Arahi, D38 constituent. Brett Ridgway already said that MA will have to present an acceptable plan to D38 on how the MLO money will be spent. No one has been able to direct me to the MLO sharing law that gives D38 the right to even require this. If the MLO was for buses, would MA have to get buses? I don't know. How much control is D38 trying to hold over Monument Academy? Just enough to get Monument Academy to support this MLO so they can help D38 get their $5 million of the MLO. This is why Monument Academy parents need to pay this money directly to Monument Academy. Don't ever rely on anything from D38 already. They're going to try and control how you spend your MLO money if it passes, which it won't. Any parent who thinks because a joint effort like this is not going to grind away at MA's independence from D38 and allow D38 to insert themselves further into Monument Academy's business and decision-making is fooling themselves. Another anti-charter school board and superintendent is just around the corner. You do not want to be unequally yoked with D38. They do not share your worldview and values. This MLO is going to unequivocally yoke MA with D38 more than you already are and more than you want to be, and Monument Academy will regret it. Thank you.
Just to clarify, it was, the context we were talking about was this oversight committee that's referred to in the ballot language. It was not mentioning that the administration could be in control of this. We will not be in control of this. The oversight committee will have the opportunity to vet the proposals. That's all.
I have a question. How is the oversight committee established and chosen?
I think it's a great question. And so the Oversight Committee, which really would be one and the same, I think, with the current Financial Advisory Committee, which is a subset of the District Accountability Advisory Committee. And all of these things have and are set up to have representation from every single school under the district umbrella. So that includes all 10 schools again. So again, 10 representation at the DAC level and representation at this committee level. That's the way it should be done.
What I see happening is pretty much your voices. My name is Gordon Reichel. I have no Monument Academy students. I've been a supporter, and I think you all are the future. And correct me if I'm wrong, I would like to address this to you all and your spending plan. Several years ago, and I did not send my draft teacher's MLO to Monument Academy at the time, but I recommended it, and I still do, and I have been basically told that's not going to work, is to have at least an element of your spending plan and your MLO identified for outstanding teachers, as opposed to a peanut butter spread. Everyone gets a 4 or 5% increase in salary. We know, and District 38 has verified this, there are some teacher positions like STEM, like special education, that are difficult to fill. Physics, a math teacher that has that ability, and those teachers are part of our family, and we trust them with our children. Those folks, I believe, are worthy of additional financial compensation. If you look at the state ballots, Proposition FF says this specifically for the food service, and Proposition FF says that we are going to provide as a state additional salary and stipends to people who are working in food service. That basically is you are separating people that do a great and important job, food safety, and it has to be done right. Those folks that put the extra mile, the teachers that work 4 or 5 hours a night sometimes, grading papers, deserve the recognition, deserve possibly a set-aside percentage in your spending plan above and beyond the peanut butter spread that everybody gets 4% or whatever the spending plan will be. I think it is the human endeavor, and Abraham Lincoln said, people respond to incentives. And I believe if you want to hire better teachers, incentivize them to come, recognize them that they serve a critical portion of the health and education and establishing the future of our kids that will be pushing us around in our wheelchairs. But that's the key, I think, to a successful MLO, is to recognize and have an opportunity instantiated within the MLO for these outstanding education professions. As a community, we love our teachers. We love District 38. We love Monument Academy. We see this as the future. It's in your hands. Incentivize the ones that make the greatest contribution, and we'll all benefit. Thank you.
I know there wasn't a question on that, but I just wanted to use that as a potential frame in that that if Monument Academy did choose to pursue a more pay-for-performance type of plan for your teachers, that's perfectly fine. We're not saying you should or you shouldn't. We're not going to say you can or you can't. As long as the funds are being allocated in terms of teacher and non-administrative staff compensation, how you choose to go about doing that is really up to you. We are, and have gone on record saying that we are prioritizing all of our teachers in this ask. I wouldn't necessarily use the term peanut butter spread because there are nuances to the salary schedule. And so we recognize and value all of our teachers with respect to where they fall in that particular schedule and how we can honor our veterans as well as our new, our teachers that may have a certain qualification versus those that don't. Those are definitely opportunities, I think, to be able to ensure that there's an equitable and a fair distribution of funds. But again, I just want to stress that how we go about that does not necessarily have to be how Monument Academy chooses to allocate those funds, again, notwithstanding the commitment to investing in compensation.
Any further community questions?
Hi, good evening. My name is Stephen Walsh, taxpayer. I have a kid in MA, and I'm also in the classroom in MA. So I just want to start off by saying thank you for holding this forum. I think it was great to hear the points and the discussion, and thank you for answering those there. So, as we said, we're going into a recession. The highest percentage in the state is what we're paying compared to the nation. A lot of the points that I really agree with that I'm not going to repeat, but I do 100% support the additional $600 per student going to the school. So a couple other things as I was sitting there taking notes. There's some good suggestions brought up, maybe a couple others. I was researching the recent JANA schooling, which actually does not require teachers to unionize anymore. So maybe that's another solution to put more money in our teachers' pockets, is if they're not paying union dues necessarily. The second would be, have we considered removing social programs? I know that there's a request out of how much money we're actually paying to those social programs, but that may be something that's better used in this great community that we reside in. Something that's built from the students, built from the community and the teachers, and maybe using that money let's, as an example, if it's $50,000 a year for name your social emotional learning program, instead, let's take that money, give it back to the teachers, and kind of spread it out. Fair enough? One other thing I want to bring in. So I know I don't envy the position that you're in right now, taking a stance one way or the other. If it were me sitting in your spot, I would go right down the middle. I would not commit either for or against. I would let people do their own research based on information presented tonight. Let them make their own decision. Okay.
Any further comments? Questions? Gentlemen?
Just one point that Mr. Walsh mentioned that I do want to make sure we're on record saying no teacher in Lewis Palmer School District is required to pay any membership dues for Lewis Palmer Educational Association. That is up to them. As another point of reference, our PEA is not a negotiating body. There is no negotiated agreement. We do meet on a regular basis. We do discuss various aspects of how we're supporting our teachers and how we have a good working relationship with district administration, as well as the teachers that are represented by LPA. We also desire that for all of our teachers across the district. So I think it just bears some mention. And to the point of other programming or other programs and where available dollars may be able to come from, the reality is, and we're happy to demonstrate this both on our fiscal transparency website as well as field continuous questions, when 83% roughly of our budget is allocated specifically for salaries and benefits, and you think about how that represents the largest portion of our spend, really the other 17% comes from everything to transportation, curriculum, technology, all the other support needs that it takes in order to ensure that we have an effective and resourceful district. The reality is, if we are in a position where this does not move forward, we certainly can take a close look at all of those spends. as we've already said. So happy to have that conversation as we go.
Just one clarifying question. So you mentioned the LPEA. What about any A or AFT? Are any of our teachers with those?
I can't speak to that in terms of which teachers may opt to pursue membership there. That is certainly their choice.
Yeah, that's their choice with their own money. It's not collective bargaining. There's no district funds per se going to that. It's the individuals themselves doing whatever they want to do with their take-home pay.
Well, sure, and as long as they understand, because there was that confusion and being before they were forced into paying union dues, right? So with that understanding of, hey, you completely have the option to join or not to join. I get it's their own take-home pay, so they can make their own decisions. Just as long as those teachers are aware that, hey, you're not required to pay union dues if you don't want to.
No, the vast majority don't.
Okay, thanks.
May I make a comment also? I want to thank everybody that's here, particularly those who have spoken. This is how it should be. We should be able to have dialogue, and we should be able to present ideas. And if you have reasons to be opposed to the MLO, I appreciate hearing it. I want to just say that I encourage everyone to get out and vote. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I think you should vote based on your perspective and what you want to do. It's never easy to ask for taxes. I don't, as an individual, I don't like paying more taxes either. This ask has been well explained of what it is. Is it the only way? Well, I think not, given some of the ideas, but it's the most common, most practical approach. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's the way it works in the state of Colorado. And, I encourage everyone to get out and vote. And just again, thanks to the Monument Academy Board for letting us come and present. And thanks for all of you for your participation.
Thank you, gentlemen. Board, do you have any further questions?
I have one quick one, not to belabor this. Just looking at the ballot language to ensure there's clarity, it says that whatever money is received is to be deposited into the general fund. So my question is, who would authorize the release of any appropriations from the general fund?
So, money is either general fund money or it's money's either general fund money or it's for specific revenue grant type of money. Statutorily, MLOs are defined as general fund money. Now, what I believe is appropriate is to account for that separately. There are opportunities to account for that separately from what I would call the general fund, meaning the school finance type money. We can segregate this money to separate reporting that's visible and transparent for everyone to see. In terms of your question about who authorizes the release of the money, I think that it ultimately comes down to the Board of Education. The Board of Education of the district is the body that is responsible to the community for those funds. Now, and so that's why in the ballot language they wanted the additional accountability to the community, to have the oversight committee to be able to keep them accountable for making it happen, and making sure that it focuses on the intended purpose from the ballot language. I don't know if I'm answering your question well enough or not, but that's...
So the Department of Education is the one that authorizes the release of any appropriations from the general fund of the taxes received?
The Department of Education? Board of Education, not the State Department, it's the Board of Education.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I said that. So it's the Board of Education who would authorize the release of those funds. And the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee, this is the oversight, we're calling it oversight. My colleague asked a question about how that is staffed. Could you elaborate a little more? unclear from the ballot how that would be staffed. Who are the members? Or how are they picked? Do you know that?
So the cleanest answer to that is we currently have a financial advisory committee that resurfaced as we were working through last year. We see that committee being a function of or a connection to our overarching district advisory and accountability committee, also known as DAC. We actually have several subcommittees that are composed under the umbrella of that district advisory accountability committee. One of the next steps with this financial advisory committee is to ensure that the bylaws and the guidelines that we operate with the DAC become a function of that financial advisory committee. So the answer is it's open to anybody who wants to serve, assuming that they're meeting certain membership criteria. Currently we have staff members, we have community members, we have parents. What we would envision as we're moving forward is to expand that to also include Monument Academy representation, whether that is a member of your board, a member of your community at large, a member of your staff. We will update those membership terms, and essentially there's little approval per se that actually happens in that committee, but one of the functions of the committee will be to provide regular updates as a function of the realm of the DAC to our Board of Education, who will say things like, we'd like to understand how, again, if this passes, how these dollars are being allocated, and we would envision a member or a group of members from that committee being part of the vetting process, as well as a presentation process that would be something that would occur on a semi-regular basis, maybe twice a year, to ensure that there's clarity in how all that takes shape. So it's the answer to it is I think in the past it hasn't been as robust, and we're in the process of ensuring that this gives us an opportunity to work closely with our community to that end.
Thank you, that's all.
Just to clarify, on that committee, then will a Monument Academy representative, or they be automatically part of that committee? Do they have to be voted in, or how does that work?
No, we would invite whoever you all would like to send, and we will ensure that there's clarity in what to expect as a member of that group. And I would also add that it is an open meeting, so anybody could actually come and speak and present as needed. But assuming that you all have a set 2 or 3 individuals that would be part of that, we would be grateful for their attendance and their participation as such.
One of the slides that was put up there discussed the 1999 NLO, and one of the concerns that I've heard has been trust. And frankly, we were left out of that MLO, and we were not brought into that MLO until the state legislation changed. And so the concerns are there's not always been a measure of trust between the district and the charter, and we have a community that questions that. What assurances do we really have beyond if the state legislation changes? Our boards change. Everyone sitting up here has the burden of being leaders right now, that we were not leaders at the time these other decisions were made. So we are fighting that history of mistrust. So if I'm going to give you an opportunity to maybe speak to our community on behalf of that with what assurances do we have? We were not part of putting this ballot language together. We are being asked to take a position on something that we were part of the table. So what can you give our community sitting here that's asking, why should we trust? Why should we vote when they could open their own checkbooks directly to our school and give it directly to the school that they've chosen?
So I think regarding the dimension of trust that goes back several years in terms of, I think, time and situations that think you know, at least speaking for myself and Brett, we weren't here at the time. I don't know that I want to offer a whole lot of commentary on so much of where we've been, because what I appreciate in that is that it's difficult sometimes to move forward. I believe what this represents at this point in time, though, is a good faith effort on both parties to ensure that the intent of this ask is exactly what we would follow through with to demonstrate a level of assurance not only to our community, but in close collaboration with you all. While I know we didn't necessarily have formal deep dive conversations necessarily in the construction of the ask, I would add that there were multiple conversations that we had over the course of the spring with the former COO as we were keeping at least that member of your leadership team updated on where we were in terms of those next steps. We were always open to feedback about how that was being perceived or how that was being articulated. I would add that I think it presents an opportunity for both boards to work also closely in that effort. I do think, and what's apparent, I believe, through the development of at least the resolution that was in 2018, as best as I understand it, is that the past week, the mistakes or the failed efforts, if you will, to ensure that there was a close relationship and demonstration of the intent of 1990 MLO and how all that would be articulated. I think it was an opportunity at that point to at least say, here's what we are committing to going forward. Perhaps this is also an opportunity to envision an updated resolution, right? I believe sections B and C of that 2018 resolution actually invite additional review and reflection. I think this represents maybe not the final step in that process, but a step in that process that could be helpful for both boards that are current as well as future to hold ourselves and also demonstrate to the community accountability in terms of the intent behind all of this. So again, I would just extend that hand in terms of a good faith effort on both perspectives of both entities and ensure that there's good communication and good clarity in how those things represent an opportunity to move forward with the type of trust that we can rebuild and that we can use as a foundation to continue on into the future. Sure.
So I actually ran for this board seat in 2017, so I was involved in the 2018 resolution. And there was a lack of trust. There was even, I could use other words that are even harsher, but that lack of trust was within our own board as well. So it wasn't entirely directed just at MA, but there was a definite issue. And the resolution was part of the solution. That laid the groundwork, if you will, for this facility. This property was a transaction that occurred to help accommodate Monument Academy to build here. And that wasn't unanimous, but we got it through based on that resolution and a commitment to look at our system as a one system, recognizing choice, and the Monument Academy has its unique charter, and we support it. Now, I, as a father back then, actually had children in Monument Academy because we appreciate the middle school approach where you have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the middle school environment, which Monument Academy supported. So we brought our children through that process. And I had a daughter on the cheerleading team, and I had a son on the football team. And by the way, congratulations to this year's football team. I heard they did very well. The point I'm making is trust is earned. And I've been here now 5 years, and I hope we're earning trust. But someone mentioned today, I think it might have been Derek, that said something about, well, what happens if you get another bad leader, right? He used his own words, but that's what he was saying. That's a reality that we have to face. And so board member elections are important, that you get trustworthy individuals. And I think, as Dr. Summers said, I think there is some provisions in that resolution from 2018 that we can strengthen the relationship. And I want to close that with, we want to honor Monument Academy's unique charter. We have no desire to control anything about it. Choice is important in our community. And so that's our perspective. And I just wanted to share that with you as part of your response to your question.
And I just want to thank you guys for coming and doing this in the format that we have set up and being willing to hear a lot of hard things and answer some hard questions. I know the community really appreciates that as well, that we were able to do this in this kind of a format. Thank you.
Board, anything further? All right, I'm going to offer up something to close with us. To begin, I would like to personally thank Dr. Summers for connecting last week and requesting to come and present to Monument Academy in regard to the MLO. I would also like to acknowledge that we are grateful that D38 agreed to a town hall style format where challenging questions could be asked tonight. Over the last several MA board meetings and through numerous types of correspondence, our constituency has asked us as a board, where do we stand on this MLO? The reality is this: whether or not MA supports or stands against this MLO, if voters approve it on November 8th, then in accordance with House Bill 17-1375, we will be apportioned in as a charter school. Some would rationalize that MA just needs to come out and support this and not ask any questions. Though MA is not the impetus behind this initiative, there is no question that the additional funding would be well received and provide our incredible teachers and our non-admin staff a financial benefit. Additionally, there is no question that encumbering our taxpayers in D38 in perpetuity with an increase in property taxes creates dissension within the community and places additional financial burden on our residents. The proposal that I have tonight for the Monument Academy Board is a joint resolution with D38 that clearly defines the terms of this 2022 MLO as it relates to the distribution that Monument Academy would receive if voters approve the initiative. This is a good faith effort for MA and D38 as we seek to grow and develop our partnership. With that said, I'm going to read aloud a proposed joint resolution that has been vetted by our legal counsel here at MA. If the MA board approves this resolution tonight through affirmative vote, then I would ask that the D38 board take a position on this joint resolution as it relates to the 2022 MLO. So I will read. Lewis Palmer School District 38 and Monument Academy Joint Resolution regarding MLO sharing with Monument Academy. Whereas the Lewis Palmer School District 38 district is a participating school district as defined in CRS 22-32-108.5 2F, and whereas Monument Academy, MA, has been a district authorized charter school since January 25th, 1996, and whereas as a result of House Bill 17-1375, the district adopted a resolution on June 18th, 2018 to share with MA 95% of additional mill levy revenue as related to the 1999 MLO. And whereas the district intends to ask the voters on November 8th, 2022 for the imposition of a property tax not to exceed 7.45 mils annually for the purpose of increasing compensation for teachers and non-administrative staff throughout the district, including MA, the 2022 MLO. And whereas MA's student population represents nearly 20% of the district's total enrollment, and whereas MA's support for the 2022 MLO is critical to its successful passage. Now therefore be it resolved that number one, The district will in perpetuity share 100% of the additional mill levy revenue as defined in CRS 22-32-108.5, 2, and A as related to the 2022 MLO, with MA on a proportionate basis based on MA's funded pupil count regardless of whether the enrolled MA student resides within the geographical boundary of the district. Number 2, the district will agree in advance to MA's proposed use of 2022 MLO funds so long as the use fully complies with the approved ballot language. The district will not require MA to submit any other usage audits or reporting requirements not otherwise required by Colorado law. Number 3, MA will have proportionate representation determined by its student count in relationship to the district's total enrollment on the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee as described in the 2022 MLO ballot language. Number 4, upon ratification of this joint resolution by the District Board of Education, the MA Board of Directors will publicly support the 2022 MLO.
I'm going to make a motion to accept the resolution as presented tonight and distribute it to District 38 for consideration at the October 24th school board meeting.
Second. We have a second to the motion on this resolution. That opens this up to discussion board. So we can make changes to this resolution. I know each of you have not had a chance to delve into this, digest it any further than tonight. So I am open to any thoughts or considerations on it.
So to be clear, this would take us from 95 to us requesting 100%.
That is correct. State statute is very clear that it's a minimum of 95%. So if the district in good faith feels that they would like to work with us, I feel that an equitable distribution would be 100%, not 95%.
And I would note that the word equitable was used within the slide presentation as well. So I definitely agree with that.
Board, any further discussion on this? All right, then I'm going to call a vote. Mrs. Delisle, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mrs. Clinton?
Aye.
Mr. Carvey? Aye. Mr. Gears? Aye. Brian Graham votes aye. This resolution will be presented to Chris Taylor tonight as the president of the B38 Board of Education, and in consideration of the now therefore be it resolved clauses, I will give that to you, and we will see how B38 Board would like to position on this. So I have nothing further tonight. Board, any comments, announcements? Seeing none, then I will adjourn this meeting at 8:18. Thank you, guys.